Okay, so picture this. It's Saturday morning. You're standing in your kitchen, the pan's on the stove, and you're holding an egg. Just a plain old egg. And you just freeze. You're totally paralyzed.
Paralyzed by breakfast? That sounds like a rough way to start the weekend.
It's not just the breakfast, though. It's like the weight of decades of conflicting advice. Depending on what year it is, this egg is either this perfect superfood.
The building block of life.
Right. Or it's a grenade, a heart attack in a shell. I honestly feel like I need a PhD just to decide if I can make an omelet.
You know, you're not wrong to feel that way. I mean, the egg is probably one of the most controversial foods out there. For a solid 30, maybe 40 years, it was public enemy number one.
Exactly. And then it felt like overnight, it just wasn't. So today we are going to crack this open pun, definitely intended. We're going on a deep dive to figure out the history of the egg. I want to know why the medical consensus flipped, what it actually does to my body, and I want a number. How many can I eat?
We can absolutely do that. I've pulled together a ton of insights for this. We're looking at the big pivot in the U.S. dietary guidelines, some really deep nuance on cholesterol particles, and specific advice from cardiologists about things like diabetes and even gut health.
Okay, let's start with that history lesson, because I think that's where all the confusion comes from. For years, the rule was so strict. It was, what, like 2 or 3 eggs a week, tops?
It all came down to one magic number, 300 milligrams. The old guidelines said you should not eat more than 300 milligrams of dietary cholesterol in a day. Well, do the math. One large egg has about 200 milligrams in the yolk.
So the math is brutal. You eat one egg, you've used up 2/3 of your daily limit, a 2-egg omelet, and you've blown your budget before lunch.
Precisely. And the logic back then was super linear. It was like a plumbing problem. You eat cholesterol, it goes in your blood, it clogs your arteries like grease in a pipe. End of story.
But that's where it all went wrong.
That's where it gets fascinating. That math and that whole plumbing model, it turned out to be fundamentally flawed.
See, this is the part that I never really got. I remember the headlines changing around 2015, but why? Did chicken suddenly change? Or did we just have the science wrong for 50 years?
We had the physiology of the liver wrong. We used to think the body was just a passive bucket. You pour cholesterol and the level goes up. But the liver is, well, it's more like a smart thermostat.
Yeah, thermostat.
Yeah, think about it. Your body needs cholesterol. It's not a poison. You need it for your cell membranes, for hormones like testosterone.
Okay, wait.
So your liver makes it constantly.
Wait, so even if I eat 0 eggs, my body is still making cholesterol?
All the time. And here's the key insight from those 2015 guidelines. For the vast majority of people, if you eat more cholesterol from your food, your liver just makes less. It detects the incoming supply and dials down its own production.
So it's a self-regulating system. My liver sees the eggs coming and says, all right, team, take a break. We've got a shipment coming in.
Exactly. It maintains homeostasis. And that's why, in 2015, they officially dropped that 300 milligram limit on dietary cholesterol. The data just didn't support a direct link for most people.
For most people. I'm sensing that's a key phrase.
It is. We'll get to the exceptions.
Okay, but I have to push back a little. If the egg isn't the main villain, why is heart disease still the #1 killer? Something is clogging the pipes.
You're right to ask that. And the sources are pretty clear. The real villains are usually what the egg hangs out with.
The company it keeps.
Right. Think about the classic breakfast. It's not just a boiled egg. It's bacon, sausage, toast slathered in butter. It's the saturated fats, the trans fats, and especially the oils you use to fry it all in. The egg itself was kind of framed.
Justice for the egg. But wait a second. My doctor every year looks at my chart and talks about my LDL numbers. The bad cholesterol. If eggs raise that number at all, isn't that still bad?
No, LDL absolutely still matters. High LDL is a major risk factor, but we have to get way more granular than your typical lab report. This is where it gets really interesting. We tend to see LDL as just one big bad number, but biologically, not all LDL is created equal.
Okay, unpack that for me, because on my test results, it's just one line item, LDL. You're saying there are different kinds?
Think of it less like kinds and more like physics. Size and density. Imagine you have a pile of big, fluffy beach balls, and then you have a pile of small, hard golf balls.
Okay, got it. Beach balls and golf balls.
The beach balls are your large, buoyant LDL particles. The golf balls are the small, dense ones. And those small, dense LDLs, the golf balls, they're the dangerous ones. They're small enough to get behind the arterial wall, get stuck, and cause inflammation.
And the big, fluffy beach balls.
They're mostly too big to cause trouble. They just kind of bounce off the artery walls and get cleared out by the liver. Now here's the kicker. When people eat more eggs, or even go on high-fat diets like keto, their total LDL number often goes up. But research suggests it's often the large particles, the beach balls, that are increasing.
So the number on the paper goes up, my doctor gets worried, but under the hood, I might just have more of the harmless, fluffy kind.
That's the nuance that often gets missed. A standard test doesn't tell you the particle size, just the total weight. You might be panicking over a big pile of beach balls.
That's actually really reassuring. But you keep saying most people, I feel like there's an asterisk here. Who are the exceptions?
This is the huge, however, we have to talk about genetics. There's a group of people known as hyper-responders.
That sounds like a superhero team, but I'm guessing it's not a good thing.
Not in this context, no. These are people whose liver thermostat is basically broken. If they eat a lot of dietary cholesterol, their LDL doesn't just go up a little, it skyrockets. We're talking levels over 170, 180, even 200.
Wow. So for them, it doesn't matter if it's a beach ball or a golf ball.
At that high of a concentration, the whole system gets overwhelmed. The liver just can't clear it fast enough. So for them, the old advice to limit eggs is probably still very relevant.
Which just brings it all back to personalized nutrition. You can't just copy what your friend is eating.
Exactly. You have to know your own body.
Okay, so assuming I'm not a hyper-responder, why should I bother with eggs? I mean, we've established they probably won't kill me. But is there a real benefit? Is there a nutritional payload here?
Oh, absolutely. The payload is huge. Per calorie, it's one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. I mean, they call it nature's multivitamin for a reason.
All right, sell me on it. What's in there?
Okay, first up, brain health. Eggs are loaded with choline and lecithin. These are critical for your nervous system, for building cell membranes.
Okay.
Then there's eye health. You get lutein and zeaxanthin.
I've heard of those.
Yeah.
They're always in those expensive supplements for eye health.
Right, but you can get them naturally here. They build up in your retina and act like internal sunglasses, protecting you from blue light damage and degeneration.
Internal sunglasses. I like that. What else?
And then, of course, the protein. It's a complete protein, all the essential amino acids. But this brings up a big debate. The whole egg versus the egg white.
Oh, yeah. The healthy order at brunch is always the egg white omelet. No yolk, please.
And that could be a huge mistake, especially if your goal is building muscle. Research shows that muscle protein synthesis, so how well your body actually uses the protein, is significantly higher when you eat the whole egg.
Really? But the white is where all the protein is.
It is, but the yolk has the cofactors. It has the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and it has the fat needed to absorb them. If you only eat the white, you're getting the bricks, but you're throwing away the cement.
That is a perfect analogy. So unless you have a specific reason to avoid the yolk, you're leaving the best part on the plate.
You're leaving the magic on the plate.
So the egg is mostly off the hook for heart disease. It's great for your brain, your eyes, your muscles. It sounds perfect. But there has to be a catch. Is there a scenario where it's actually dangerous, like right now?
Yes. Now we have to talk about the Rocky Balboa myth.
Right. The glass of raw eggs, he chugs it down, runs up the stairs.
Right.
It's the ultimate symbol of toughness. But according to our sources, that is a terrible, terrible idea.
A very bad idea. The experts were extremely firm on this. The #1 risk is salmonella.
And people really underestimate salmonella. They think it's just a bad stomachache.
It can be so much worse. I mean, yes, severe diarrhea, vomiting, fever. But in vulnerable people, kids, the bacteria can get into your bloodstream. That can lead to sepsis and shock. It can be life-threatening.
And it's sneaky. I remember reading about people getting it from hot pot.
Yes, that's a classic case. You're cooking everything in boiling broth. It's all safe. But then you crack a raw egg into your little bowl to make a dipping sauce. You've just recontaminated everything.
And there's another issue with raw eggs, right?
Yeah.
Something chemical.
There is. Most people don't know about this. Raw egg whites contain a protein called avidin. And avidin's job is to bind to biotin.
Biotin. That's the hair and nails vitamin.
Well, one and only. When you eat raw avidin, it latches onto the biotin in your gut and prevents your body from absorbing it. It just goes right through you.
So if you're chugging raw eggs like Rocky, you're actually creating a vitamin deficiency.
If you do it chronically, yes. You can end up with hair loss, skin rashes, brittle nails. You're drinking them to get strong and you end up with a rash.
Definitely not the goal. And it's not just the glass of eggs, right? It's hidden in things.
Homemade Caesar dressing, homemade mayonnaise, chocolate mousse. If you're making those things with raw, unpasteurized eggs, the risk is there.
So what's the safe temperature? How hot does it have to get?
The magic number is 71 degrees Celsius, which is about 160 Fahrenheit. The yolk needs to be firm. A runny, soft-boiled egg is still technically a risk.
Okay. Cook your eggs. Got it. Now, there was one more wild card in the research that blew my mind. It wasn't about the heart or bacteria. It was about the gut.
Ah, the TMAO connection. This is really cutting-edge stuff.
Yeah, this part was a little dense. So walk me through it. How can my gut bacteria change whether an egg is good or bad for me?
So remember we said eggs have choline, which is great for your brain.
Right.
Well, when you eat that choline, it travels to your gut. If you have a healthy, balanced microbiome, no problem. But if you have an overgrowth of certain bad bacteria, those bacteria will eat the choline.
And what do they do with it?
They convert it into a substance called TMA. That TMA then goes to your liver, which turns it into TMAO.
And TMAO is?
TMAO is bad news. High levels are strongly linked with inflammation and heart disease.
That is insane. So you're saying two people can eat the exact same omelet. For one person, it's brain food. For the other, it's artery inflammation. And the deciding factor is the bugs in their gut.
That's exactly it. It completely changes the game. The takeaway is if you're going to eat 2 or 3 eggs a day, you need to make sure your gut health is in a good place.
And how do you do that?
High fiber, lots of vegetables. You want to feed the good bacteria and keep things moving through your system regularly. An all-meat, no-fiber diet with a ton of eggs could theoretically be a little TMAO factory.
So it's not just the food, it's the whole ecosystem. Which I guess brings us to cooking methods. Let me guess. Boiling is better than frying.
By a long shot. Boiled, poached, steamed. Those are best. The minute you fry an egg, especially in a lot of oil at high heat, you risk oxidizing the cholesterol, which makes it more inflammatory, and you're adding a bunch of empty calories.
And what about those processed eggs, like century eggs?
Those should be a rare treat, not a staple. The sources noted their sodium can be 5 to 10 times higher than a normal egg, and historically there's been a risk of heavy metals like lead being used in the curing process.
Okay, we've gone from the 300 milligram myth to LDL particle physics to gut bacteria. Let's bring it all home. I'm a healthy adult. I'm reasonably active. How many eggs can I eat?
Okay, the final verdict, based on the current consensus. For a healthy adult, 1 egg a day is the standard conservative advice, but many recent studies show that up to 2, even 3 eggs a day seems to be perfectly fine for metabolically healthy people.
1 to 3, that's a good range. But the big caveats apply.
Huge caveats. If you have diabetes or existing heart disease, the advice gets much stricter. The experts say to limit the yolks to about 3 per week. The whites are fine, but be careful with the yolks.
What about for kids? My kids love eggs.
They're fantastic for kids. They really need that choline for brain development. For kids aged 1 to 5, about 1 a day is a great target.
And any practical tips on when to eat them?
Eat them at breakfast. The combination of protein and fat is amazing for satiety. It crushes hunger hormones and stabilizes your blood sugar way better than a carb-heavy breakfast like cereal. It's a real weight management tool.
So tomorrow morning, when I'm holding that egg, I shouldn't be thinking heart attack.
No. You should be thinking about the temperature of the pan and maybe what you're serving it with.
And I guess my gut bacteria.
That's the thought I really want to leave people with. We spend so much energy analyzing the food itself. Is this a superfood? Is this poison? And we totally ignore the hostess. The future of this isn't just about the egg. It's about your genetics and your microbiome.
Are you a hyperresponder?
Yeah.
Is your gut a TMAO factory?
And until you know the answers to those questions, enjoy your egg. But maybe boil it. And eat some spinach with it.
And for goodness sake, don't drink it raw. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time.